I'm kind of curious, is it just really for fun or is it for efficiency?
It started as fun. It started as I just want a helicopter because it's cool as shit. You could talk all day long, but if you don't show, you're never going to get to where you want to be. Today, we're focusing on mental health. We're going to focus on physical health. We're going to focus on emotional health.
Welcome back to the Kris Krohn Show. I'm with Keaton Hoskins, known as The Muscle. He's an entrepreneur with 22 companies, and this dude has got freaking fire in his bones. We've only met this last month, but when I went up to your house and I saw the lineup of choppers, and dude, there was a crazy party that you threw before hosting 8,000 people at an arena with some of the top speakers of today. I was like, I need to know who this dude is. So, man, will you just launch by telling us just a little bit of your background? Like, who is The Muscle?
Yeah, so really quick story. When I was 21 years old, I came back from being a Mormon missionary. And about 3 months after being home, my father passed away. And on his deathbed, I had some really beautiful conversations with him. But I realized that all the things that he had been teaching me essentially his whole life and my whole life, the 9 to 5, the safe route, the 401k, all of that stuff was all bullshit. So I decided when my father passed away that I was going to never, ever allow someone else to dictate my freedom and my finances. And I didn't realize then that I was signing myself up to be an entrepreneur, but that's essentially what it was. So from that point, I decided to start company after company after company. And I've started, to this point, about 36, 37 companies in my life. I'm 36 years old. And in the interim of that, because a lot of people are like, well, who is this guy? Or I've seen him on TV. In the interim of that, I actually built a company with Dave Sparks and Diesel Dave that was called Diesel Brothers. We built a giveaway company, giveaway model kind of deal. And we became famous. We had a reality show, and most people have seen me on TV, but it was in the interim of me building 35 companies. And so essentially from that point until today, that's what I've done. We finished the TV show about 2 years ago. We were the #1 reality show on TV for Discovery Channel, which is the biggest TV network in the world. So we were pretty big. And we became really famous, had really cool shit. But all of that time, I was building companies, being an entrepreneur, and being fairly successful, I think.
Got it. So who are you today, and what do people know you for now outside of Discovery Channel?
So literally a year ago, I sat in my living room with my wife and I said, you know what? I want to stop building just for me. I want to build for the world. And she said, well, what the hell does that what does that mean? You're going to build for the world? And I said, I think I want to make 10 people a millionaire this year. And it was last year, midway through the year.
Okay.
And she said, oh, okay. I got up off the couch, I walked outside, I did a selfie video of me in my front yard, and I said, hey, I'm going to make 10 people a millionaire. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make 10 people a millionaire. Plain and simple. Let me know if you want to be a millionaire. I put the post up. I have 6 million followers, and it went insane. Like thousands and thousands of messages. How do you do it? What do you do? Where do you go? And then essentially I started telling my story, and my story was really simple. I built 35 companies, almost all of them with $0, so you don't need money to make money. It makes things a lot easier, but you don't need it. And then I came back the next day after thousands of messages, and I sat down on that same couch with my wife, and I said, you know what I need to do? I need to coach the world. I need to mentor. And I hate that word, but I need to show the world how to get out of life what they truly want. Now, finances is one of them, and just putting that $1 million thing out there, I realized like this is one piece. And she said, okay, so you're going to start a coaching group, a coaching program, a mentoring program? I said, yeah. And I got to give her the credit. I literally said, what do I call it, babe? She's like, well, what do you believe? And I said, I believe that every single person on this planet, whoever was and will be, is a son and daughter of God. And that means that they're heirs to God. And that means that they're one thing. They're limitless in their potential, their ability. They're 100% limitless. And she said, well, I really like the word society. So why don't you call it Limitless Society? So I launched Limitless Society, and it blew up overnight. And I started the mentoring game, teaching people how to do it. And within about 6 months, I had 8 people become a millionaire.
Okay.
It was crazy, dude. I would jump on calls with people who were starting, scaling, or even selling a business. And I realized something really important, something that you're really good at. I realized the actual piece that I was trying to teach was personal development. Because personal development is really the key to all your successes. So I said, you know what am I doing? I'm not just worried about finances. I'm worried about actually progressing people in themselves. So really, that's where my program got to. It's like, this is personal development and business development. But the truth is one common denominator is this: you will never be more successful as you are personally developed. So if that's the case, the one thing you should focus on like crazy is yourself. And growing and progressing yourself, and then everything else gets better. So, dude, that's what we did, and it has been an absolutely insane journey.
Wow. So in my world, I always tell people I spend 5 hours a day developing myself. It's from 4 a.m. to 9 in the morning, and that's Kris's time. And I'm meditating, and I'm at the gym, and I'm working out, and I'm reading books, and I'm doing different things to basically wake up my soul, wake up my body, wake up my mind, wake up my heart, wake up my connections, so that by 9 a.m., I'm like ready to be superstar dad, I hope, right? A really great husband, because family's everything for me. I know that for you, like, what's your approach to personal growth? Like, do you have a system or a way that you go about doing that? What does that look like?
So I actually had to develop this as I put myself out there as a coach and a mentor. And I made myself, through meditation and a lot of thought process, get into a place of figuring out what it was that I felt needed to happen for you to succeed. So I came up with 5 things.
I want to hear them.
5 things are the most important. And the last one is what everybody focuses on, and that's financial health, right? But that's literally the last piece. The rest of them are way more important. Physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and emotional health. All 4 of those lead to financial health. And I realized that in personal development, I need to develop those 4 pieces well before the financial health ever comes to. So that's kind of how I progress everything in the system. When I sit down with you, and you've done this too, you sit down with people who are very well off, financially healthy, and the rest of their life is garbage.
Yeah.
Because their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and their spiritual health is down the drain. And I realized, cool, dude, you focus on one thing and you're unhappy. So if I want to do this right, if I want to get the most out of life and become my greatest version of me, it starts with the 5 pillars. And that's the only way to get there. So now, depending on the day, I focus on one of those pillars every single day. Just like you, I don't spend 5 hours from 4 to 9, but I spend a lot of time going, okay, today we're focusing on mental health. We're going to focus on physical health. We're going to focus on emotional health, spiritual health. And then I've gotten into a system where I'm literally hitting every single one every single day. And all I care about, and this is literally my only thing left. All I care about is one word from here on out. It's progress. That's it. Progress over everything is all I care about.
So you're also a family man,
Yes.
right? Like, your family is really big. Tell me a little bit about your family, and what are you doing to raise your kids different than the way your dad raised you, which was get good grades, go to, go, after college, have someone else run your life for you, and then you'll be successful. What are you doing different with your kids?
So one of the things that I learned really, really quickly, and that I live and die by, is talk is cheap. A lot of parents want to talk their way through coaching and teaching their children, and what they don't realize is you could talk all day long, but if you don't show, you're never going to get to where you want to be. So, number 1 for me, when I'm coaching or teaching my kids, it's not my words. It's 100% my actions. And the way my father was is he wanted to sit down and talk and talk and talk and teach and preach. And then I watched his actions, especially at the end of his life, and I realized, oh, so what you're really doing is teaching me the opposite through your actions. Your words are nothing to me.
Can you give me one example of that?
Yeah, so my father taught school, degree, safety, 401k, and if you do those things, you can climb the ladder, and in climbing the ladder, you'll be as successful as you want to be, and it will be safe. When my father died, the last 3 years of his life, he was the CEO of a pretty big company. The last 3 years of his life, I watched his company on their board, because he was the CEO, I watched them throw him to the garbage. They just said, you're not healthy enough to be here. We don't need you. We don't want you. All the security that he had told me and taught me about went out the window as soon as he got ill. And I watched through what happened in his life. There's no such thing as safety. Nothing. So I realized all the talk of safety and school and master's degrees and all of that is complete bullshit. I watched it firsthand with my father. And the worst thing, I'm very, this is a very vivid memory. The worst thing in the whole world is to watch your hero, my father, have regrets on their deathbed.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah.
He had regrets. And the reason he had regrets is because he realized then in those moments, plain and simple, I shouldn't have taught you what I taught you.
Wow.
I should have told you to chase your dreams and forget everything else.
So how are you doing it different with your girls?
So I don't spend a lot of time teaching and preaching to my children. I just bring them everywhere. I do everything with them. You know, this weekend I had this huge event. I brought them backstage. I held them while I was in conversations with Tony Finau and the Attorney General and David Goggins. I literally held them while we had conversations. And the Attorney General looked at me, Sean Reyes, good friend of mine, and he was like, I love that your daughters are here and they're so respectful. And I said, you know why they're respectful? Because they understand the way that Dad teaches them is by what he does every day. They watch and they see and they learn. One of the coolest stories in the world, my daughter had a presentation at school, whole day of presentations. And, you know, I'm thinking, I'm just going to support her, whatever. No idea what was going on. I showed up to school. All these kids had these cool projects, all this stuff, and literally my daughter had this huge program and like layout of a business she had started. And she said, Dad, I wanted to show you. I wanted to surprise you. I said, what is this? She said, Dad, I'm an entrepreneur. I started a business selling bracelets and I'm selling them today. And I said, awesome. How many did you sell? You know, not thinking anything. She said, Dad, I sold $2,800 today. I said, you made $2,800?
Yep, you're an entrepreneur.
Okay. And so from there, I made a post on my social media. Hey, this isn't a money grab. I want to teach my daughter the importance of being an entrepreneur. I made a post. She made $10,000 from my post.
Wow.
And I knew she was hooked. I had never once told my daughter, you should be an entrepreneur. I never once told her about the freedoms and all of those things. I showed her.
You just showed her.
100%.
And it was your actions that really meant everything.
100%.
Yeah. So you also have a deep belief in God. I do as well. Tell me where that is with your life today and where that fits in, because that's one of your pillars.
Yeah, so I firmly believe, as sure as I stand here, that God's our Father. Really simple belief. I think the most important thing you could possibly understand is your relationship with God. I mean, if He's really your Father, you should figure that out. In that belief, it's very clear to me of one thing. And when I was a Mormon missionary, we used to hear this all the time. People would say, oh, we don't like the Mormons because they believe they can be God. And I used to be like, I don't like that. People think we can. The truth is I do. If He's my Father and I'm heir to Him, then what does that mean? As my children are heir to me, I would hope that they become even better than me. So I believe that if God's our Father and we are His children and we are heir to Him, we have the ability to have all that He has. It doesn't just come, just like my children's success will not just come because they're my children, but through work and power and energy and growth and progression. I can have every single thing that He has. And that's a very powerful statement because I'm not talking about being a human. I'm talking about being much, much more than that. And no matter what I do in my life, that principle is a foundation upon everything that I build. And if I believe that, then I'm going to teach that and preach that until the day I die.
So can you give me an example of just an area of your life or something that you're up to right now where you feel like you're expressing that spark of the divine, God moving through you, Limitless Society? Like, where is that really showing up in your world today? How does that show?
So one of the greatest things that I like to do is be able to show people that as soon as you can comprehend a thought and conceive it, actually conceive it, and then start to understand that through it you can achieve it, nothing can stop you. And most people hear that and they go, so if I think it and actually comprehend it, I can do it. Yes, and it's easy by word, right? Like that's easy by word. My whole life in the last 10 years is a really simple principle of, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell the whole world. And then when I tell the whole world, they're going to watch me. And if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, everybody's going to see it. Everybody. And then I'm going to show you that as soon as I say it, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
I had somebody just recently say to me, why do you have a helicopter?
Yeah.
Do you have a license? No, I don't have a license. Why do you have a helicopter? Well, I wanted one. Cool. How did you do that? Well, I sat in a room like this with somebody and I said, you know what? I want a helicopter. In fact, I'm putting that on my vision board right now. I think it was in a podcast.
So that was the act of creation. That was
Literally.
the beginning.
Yeah.
You made a decision.
And then I left the podcast. I went home and I was like, oh, shit. Okay. So I put it on my vision board. And I told you this earlier in our other conversations. Once I put something on my vision board, it's coming true.
It's done.
No matter what. And in fact, I don't put things on there unless I'm like, shit, I'm not really ready for that. And I literally put it on there and I said, I'm gonna figure it out, dude. And I didn't have the money. Helicopters aren't cheap. I just finished building my house. I tell people all the time, listen, man, I'm successful, but I'm not what most people think. This guy doesn't have $100 million. So I got to figure out how to get what I want. And I went out and I said, okay, how much is a helicopter? Oh, they're about $1 to $4 million. Cool. Okay. How am I going to make this happen? I start to put into a system or a program how I'm going to accomplish it. Okay, I found the helicopter I want. How do I finance it? Cool, well, I can't finance it. So I got to figure out how to structure a deal. Structured a deal. Bought the helicopter. Then I had to figure out a pilot because I don't have my license. Went and found a pilot. Hey, man, I don't know what it takes to have you come work for me. $100 an hour? Great, you're in. Found the pilot. Went and picked up the helicopter. Flew it across the country, flew it back to my house, and then went, shit. I said I was going to have a helicopter 3 months ago. I had a helicopter in my front yard. What the hell am I going to do now? Well, it's just become part of my life.
It has, because you actually flew here today on your helicopter.
Yes.
I was at your big party when you had that. What's the name of that black chopper?
Black Hawk.
That was a Black Hawk that had Ed Milet and Andy Frizella on it.
Yep.
Turning their stomachs green a little bit while they were coming in on a tight flyby, nearly upside down.
Yeah, I got a story from Ed and Andy, both like screaming, "Stop and let me out." That's how scared they were.
So in this, I'm kind of curious: is it just really for fun, or is it for efficiency?
It started as fun. It started as, I just want a helicopter because it's cool as shit. And for anybody who's listening to this, if you've never been in a helicopter, the first thing you should do, go ride in a helicopter.
Yep.
In fact, anything in your life that you haven't done, go do it. In our last conversation, I was like, how do you find your why? Start saying yes to everything.
Yes.
The more experiences you have, the easier it is to say yes to something and then go, no, that's what I want to do. But dude, I was like, I just want something for fun. So I went up in a helicopter. I was like, this is great, dude. So I went and I got the helicopter. I'm like, I don't know, how much am I going to fly? And then all of a sudden I started getting asked by all kinds of people, hey, come to this, do this, be a part of this. And then my daughters were like, Dad, we want to start going with you. And Dad, we want to start doing picnics. And we want to start doing family trips. And I was like, okay. I started loading them up. Dude, we would go up Saturday. We would fly to the top of a mountain you can't hike to, and we'd have a picnic. And then we would go to an event, or we'd go to a vacation. And all of a sudden, an hour turned into 5 minutes. 6 hours turned into 2 hours. Like, it became an efficiency thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I live an hour and 10 minutes from you.
Yep.
I flew here in 11 minutes. My schedule today, literally, I have appointments from 7 till 7 o'clock tonight. And I'm here because I'm able to take an 11-minute helicopter flight from my front yard to your parking lot. So not only did it become something I wanted to do, it became a time machine for me to be able to do this.
So I like that you call it a time machine. A couple years ago, I got a starter jet. And then after I flew everywhere, I'm like, now I want to get a real jet. I got a Falcon 50 right now. You know, it's a 9-seater. It's got 3 engines on it. It's crazy fast. Most of where I go in the world is not like inter Utah.
Yeah.
It's like out and about. And that jet, I call it my time machine, because I swear it's just like, my buddy and I, we were going to a flight. He's here in the room right here, Trent.
Yeah.
And we were going to Mississippi to watch my buddy basically take the belt for this UFC fight. And so I'm like, okay, I want to do that. And this is before I had a jet. So I'm flying from Salt Lake to Atlanta, wait for this layover, fly in, have dinner, finally get to the show, and the next day can't get home until like 5 in the afternoon. I turned to my buddy, I was so mad. I was like, honey, I am never doing this again. We are getting a private jet. If I had had a private jet, I could have left at 5 p.m., had food on the plane, saw the fight, and slept in my own bed that night.
Yeah.
So I love your helicopter, because
Absolutely.
literally I'm like, okay, helicopter is like on my next, to do, because that's really, really
Dude,
cool.
I tell people all the time, so you have a jet, because and people ask me this all the time, like, well, is it really that fast? Okay, so let's say you and I want to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
You leave your house, You drive to your jet, you load your jet up, your jet lands, and then you take from the jet to wherever you're going in Vegas.
Yeah. Let me give it to you. I got to probably leave 30 minutes early.
Yep.
And assuming the jet's all ready to go, it's like a 45, 50-minute flight.
Yep.
And then I've got to probably do another 20 or 30 minutes to get where I want to go. It's probably 2 hours from the doorstep of my house to wherever it is I'm trying to get to in Vegas.
In my helicopter, I walk out of my front door, I walk onto my helicopter, I land my helicopter at a hotel or in the parking lot, at the place we're going, at the hotel or in the parking lot of where I'm staying. It's about an hour and 45 minutes.
See, there we go. That's it.
That's why I tell people, it's like, dude, if it's close, a helicopter 100% is a time machine.
Yeah. So it looks like you need a jet and I need a helicopter, and we should probably...
And yeah, I think that's where we're going after this. Yeah.
What's up, Kris Krohn here. I am pausing my own podcast to make sure that you have my cell phone number. Because as you're listening and thinking to yourself, man, I wish I could text Kris and ask him a real estate question or a business question, a marriage question, a health question, I got news for you. The phone number is right here. It's 385-217-3477. Save this in your phone and literally start texting me right now. Just drop your name and say, hey, Kris, it's whoever you are, and ask me a simple question. Let's go. So let's do this. I actually want to get back to, I want to talk about something that I've witnessed in you on multiple occasions. When I actually ask myself, I was like, okay, what is this dude probably known for? I bet his students love his approach to manifesting, right? The whole idea of visualizations and vision boards, and your level of integrity is if you say it, it's going to happen. But there's also a conversation on integrity and also intensity that you bring, because you've got some strong thoughts on this. I haven't heard anyone talk about it this way. Can you tell me a little bit about intensity and why you think you get what you want and why most other people in life aren't?
You know, I had this conversation. I'm really glad you asked this question. I had this conversation on the way over with my pilot. And you know what he said to me? He said, you know, a lot of people ask me about you. And I said, oh, yeah, what do they say? They're like, isn't that guy kind of an asshole? And he said to me, he goes, well, yeah, he kind of is an asshole. And he said, but here's the thing, dude. To get out of life what you want, you kind of have to be an asshole to people. The reason being is because if you are truly in line with integrity, that means you are in line with yourself, because integrity to yourself is the most important thing in the world.
And by the way, if you don't have it, you lose confidence because you can't trust yourself.
100%.
Hey, I'll call you in 5 minutes. And then a day goes by and you didn't call me. I'm like, all you did, first of all, was disappoint someone else. But really who you're disappointing is yourself, because what you're learning is, I can flippantly commit to something and then not do it.
Yeah. And you destroy your subconscious. Your subconscious goes, I don't have any confidence in you, because when you say it, it's not going to happen, because you don't have enough integrity in yourself.
Yeah.
But again, to go back to it, dude, when you're talking about integrity to yourself, what that means is you have to be willing to say no to a lot of people.
You have to, because that's the only way that you can actually manage from most of the world lives in a world of like busyness.
Yes.
I'm like, you know why you're so busy? Because you're overcommitted. You know why you're overcommitted?
Exactly.
Because you say yes to everything.
100%. So when I have true integrity to myself, I say no to a lot of people. And guess what that comes across as? You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Because you have integrity to yourself.
But here's the weird thing. And because I heard you say it a little earlier, like I think we both spent a little bit of time with Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins basically says, we're living in the zombie apocalypse. Those are my words.
Yes.
Everyone's just basically dead. There's no intensity.
Yep.
People they never honor their word, and they can't figure out why they can't get rich or get healthy or just cause things or stay in love or whatever. And Tony says, you got to learn how to say yes.
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, so by the time we were 15 years old, parents told us no 50,000 times. It is ingrained in our psyche because parents are trying to say, don't run into the street, don't touch the fire, just no. Everything is no, right?
Yeah.
So Tony gets out there in the world, he's like, you got to start saying yes, say yes, say yes, say yes. And when you say yes, you create chaos because you start having this game of abundance where it's like, oh no, I got too much going on. And then you carefully need to now responsibly reintroduce that word no again, because the only way you get richer is, ironically, you got to say yes in the beginning, and the rest of your life, you're going to say no.
I had this conversation yesterday with somebody that I one-on-one mentor. I said, you need to start giving more meaning and power to no, because the powerful no makes a much more powerful yes.
Yeah.
And so, and again, when you talk about personal integrity, I have to be willing to say no so that I can say yes to myself, because most people don't. When you say most people don't say yes, they don't even say yes to themselves.
Correct.
So again, back to the original, dude, for me to have integrity and to bring the intensity that I have to be willing to have integrity on myself and have that be most important, which allows me to say yes to myself and makes me say no to a lot of people.
So how does this tie in then to intensity?
That's where I am allowed to essentially, as soon as I say yes to myself, I empower myself. Now, I'm gonna just tie this in. Power and intensity are two very distinct things that have to go together. Most people on this planet are not powerful, and they have zero intensity. Those who have found the intensity it takes to become successful have done it through personal power. If I do not have power, I cannot have intensity. So those who ask, how do I become more intense? You have to have more power. And the only way to empower yourself is to say yes to the things that you need yes to. The integrity that you need yes to. And that means saying no to a lot of shit. And that's why people call me an asshole.
So I think there's a lot of people, Keaton, that they have this self-defeatist mentality because, well, I said yes and I tried and I didn't get what I wanted. But I think what they're lacking is the intensity. Because it's like, hey, if you're taking a running head start at something and you're not bringing 100, then when you don't get what you want, you're split testing. What is it? Is it because you were missing a lesson, or is it because you didn't bring the intensity? You have to bring 100%. You have to bring the intensity so that you can always rule it out. Well, if I didn't get what I wanted, it certainly wasn't my show up energy. Yeah. It certainly wasn't that. It was something else. Yeah. And I think a lot of people just have a hard time fogging the mirror. Yeah. I think there are some people that are just, they're in the zombie mode. It's like, bro, like, wake up and you gotta go if you say you're gonna do it, right?
100%. And dude, the thing is the number one common denominator to successful people is intensity. So if you don't have that, you have no idea.
I've never heard that before. I've never heard that. Do you really think that's true?
Oh, 100%, dude. When I listen to people like Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, dude, it was all weekend this weekend for my event. Those people who stepped on that stage were there because they were intense.
Yes.
Plain and simple. Yeah. Nobody rolled up there with their shoulders down and head down and not full of crazy intent. Nobody. Dude, Andy Frisella walked up there with his hands above his head for 10 minutes. Like, dude, you want to talk about success. You cannot talk about success without intensity. Plain and simple. And if you are, and mark my words, if you talk about success that happened without intensity, you're talking about somebody who lucked into it.
Wow. Okay, so weird scenario. You have a brand new student and they say, I just lost my job, or I hate my job and I'm not motivated. What's your first mentoring session to them look like?
Oh, dude, that's my favorite. It's my favorite one. So what I do, and it's funny, dude, now that I think about where I gathered stuff, and I got to give this to you. You know, before I really knew you, I seen some clips of you in a gym, I think, setting where you made somebody stand in front of a mirror.
Yeah.
And you made him become honest.
Yeah.
And I took from that what I now do with somebody who I mentor like this, and it's very simple. I sit down with them and I say, listen, I can take your money and we can bullshit for as long as we need to bullshit, or we can actually get something out of this. And now I'm going to tell you what my expectation is to get out of this session what you seek. My expectation is I need you to be real as fuck, and I need you to be honest. That's it. I don't need anything else from you. If you're willing to do that, I will help you to see what you need to see to change what you must change. But I can't do that if you're not willing to go all the way in and look at that person and say, that is the problem. So every single conversation I have, the beginning conversation is, let's be real honest right now.
And what you really mean by that is victimhood. Like,
exactly.
You've got to be able to take full accountability, and full accountability means you have to see where you're not showing up.
Dude, 100%. And you have to be able to stand in front of a mirror, like I was talking about that I seen you forever ago, and say, hey, person in the mirror, you're wrong.
Yep.
You failed.
Yep.
You're fat.
Yep.
You're lazy.
Yep.
You're out of shape. You don't have enough intensity.
Yep.
And you feel sorry for yourself. Knock that shit off.
Yep.
Accept it, and it's time to work through it. One of the most important things for an addict is, number one, is accept that you are an addict. Because I can't fix shit if I can't accept it. It's the same thing with everything else in life. So when I sit down with these people, it's time to put the mirror in front of you. And when we put it in front of you, I'm going to watch how you interact with that person across the mirror.
Okay, so now I want to give you a different scenario. In my world, there's two different kind of human beings. There's those that love change, which is a very, very tiny percentage. And then there's the resistant. And like resistant can be so stubborn that these individuals, they're just fighting against everything. So you have a brand new student, you work with them and you're not making progress and you realize, oh my gosh, this person is not teachable, they're not changeable, they're not moldable. This person is resistant.
Yeah.
What do you do in that situation?
So really simple in that situation, and I give them an ultimatum really quickly. I don't work with people who won't change. I just don't. I give you a few chances, and if I see that you're resistant, I'm not going to waste my time and I'm not going to waste your money to mentor. I'm just not. I make people do something that I think is the most important piece for any human being who seeks change. It's this. I say, listen, you are the sum total of your thoughts. And you don't like the sum total of you, right?
Yep.
So we know you don't like your thoughts. So right now, we have now accepted that your thoughts are not what you want. So how do I change your thoughts? I have to get you in a place where you accept that everything here is bullshit. It's garbage. So when you resist me, that's your thoughts that got you to where you are. So maybe, just maybe, it's time to accept that this actually hasn't been serving you. So I need you to get all the way back to the very beginning. And the very beginning is this. What if every single thing I've ever been taught and everything I know is complete bullshit? And if it is, then maybe I should be willing to accept that there is a better way to do every single thing that I have ever done in my life. And if I can get someone to open up to the idea that what they have here is bullshit and there's a better way, period. And accept in all reality that every single thing I know could be false, then I can get them to open up to say, well, maybe we should change it. And here's where it gets hard, and this is the question I ask, because this is always a hard question. Do you believe in God? I always ask them that. Well, yeah, of course, 100%. What if God isn't real? Well, that can't be true. Well, hold on. I just told you I needed you to open up to be open to the idea that everything you know is bullshit. I need you to be open to the fact that maybe God isn't real. Well, again, you are here because of what you think, and it has not served you. So to get you to change what you think, I need a clean slate. That means the deepest of the deepest core beliefs must change, or you must be willing to change them. So what's the core? The core for most people, it's God. So, and I do this to myself all the time, what if God isn't real? Am I open to it? And what if it isn't real and I need to find out? Am I open to finding out? Yes, I am. Until something has been proven 100%, which how much shit in life is really proven 100%?
Nothing.
Then I need to be open to it. So guess what that means? Even for me, I got to walk into a room at any given time and be able to say, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. And I'm okay to just be open to a better way. Yeah. I'm a millionaire. If I want to be a billionaire, I got to change the way I think. Yeah. So when I get in a room with billionaires and they start talking about crazy shit and I go, nah, that's bullshit. I've already lost.
Yep.
I need to be willing to walk into a room at any given time and go, you know what? I'm okay with the idea that what I know may not be true, no matter what it is. About love, God, the most important of important shit. I got to be open to the fact that maybe that's not right.
So that is a really cool definition, I think, of changeability. Someone that just says, I'm willing to question everything. I think it's actually one of the healthiest practices for a human being, because if you want something that you're not getting, change is the only way that you're going to get there. I've had over the years some pretty gnarly experiences with some of my own students. Mm-hmm. And in a moment, I want to ask, what's the craziest thing you've ever asked a student to do? I'm just reflecting on my situation. I had these two guys that were working for my company. They each were over 100 pounds overweight. They're on my management team. They were really important in my company. And one morning we were at a retreat and I invited them down to the gym. One came, one didn't. And I got pissed. Like, this was not optional. Why weren't you there?
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, before we start at 9 a.m., come to my suite. Yeah. And he got real nervous. And he came in there and I said, hey, why weren't you there this morning? And he came up with a really bad excuse. And I said, listen, I love you, but there's a good chance that you're going to be with me the next decade, and I'm going to watch you have a heart attack, and I'm going to be at your funeral. And I could have done something, so this is what I'm going to do. Give me 1 year of your life. Do everything that I tell you how to do. I promise you'll lose 100 pounds, and your life will never be the same again. He said yes, and along the way, I did this for both of these gentlemen, but along the way, I knew that I knew that they were going to default to their commitment level. Mm-hmm. So at one point I just said, okay, what's your favorite food? And one of them said pizza. I said, you're going to make a promise that you're never going to eat pizza for the rest of your life because you're wearing it all over your body. You've overeaten the hell out of that thing. Mm-hmm. And he did. And it's been a couple years since. He's never had pizza since. The other one gave up Hostess products. And so I've learned that when you ask people to do hard things, that either that's going to make them or it's going to break them.
100%.
Dude, what's some of the crazy things that you've asked your students to do?
So one of the reasons I think you and I will always have a great relationship while we'll build on this is because we firmly believe that the most important thing in our life is our marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of the first things I teach is the importance of having a spouse that you love and you trust. You know, the beautiful pieces. In fact, I tell people, you'll never be more successful than you are in your marriage. The number one question I ask those that I mentor is on a scale of 1 to 10, how is your marriage? That's the number one question. That's the first question I ask, the one that's the most important to me. I had a younger man, I shouldn't say young man, but a younger man, tell me he wanted more out of life than he was currently getting. And he was pretty successful. He's making $250,000 a year doing things, and he just wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with how things were going. And I spent about 3 months with him until I asked him to do this, just so everybody that's listening isn't like, that guy's a dickhead. And I said, hey man, I'm going to ask you to do something that you're either going to quit with me or you're going to change your life. And I kind of prepped him for it. And so I think he was scared. I said, I need you to get divorced. I need you to divorce. And he looked at me, and as soon as I said it, he busted into tears. And he said, I have known this for so long, and I can't do it. I couldn't do it, and I just can't. I said, okay, I understand. That's totally fine. And for, I think, most people on the outside, even hearing this story, they're like, oh, dude, that's too much. You can't ask somebody to get divorced. But the truth is it's not really hard to see when someone is so abusive and toxic.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And again, it's not for me to make somebody do anything, but I did say, you either do this or we no longer work together because she is destroying you. Listen, man, we've been working every day for 3 months. The things she's saying to you, the text message she's sending you, the things that are happening in your life, you're being destroyed. Your soul, I have watched you over 90 days become more destroyed in 90 days. And he was like, yeah, again, in tears. And so he went home. He had to make the decision to either keep working with me or get divorced. And he came back and said, yeah, I know this. And I've known this for 10 years.
Wow. So
he did, and within about 60 days after moving out, and I worked through it. I actually I wrote a book on divorce, so it's not like this isn't a topic that I'm familiar with. I wrote a book on divorce. Within 90 days of moving out, the divorce wasn't finalized, but he came to me and he actually wrote me a letter, and in the letter he said the moment that I said that to him, it was almost as if he could breathe again.
Wow.
Like literally his life changed. Now, that was a year ago. He has, and I'm not just saying this, and I won't say names because it's not anybody's information, or he has 10x'd his business. He's in the best shape he's ever been in. He's the best father he could possibly have been. And he's in a new relationship, and it's a beautiful relationship.
Wow.
And by the way, she's a crusher. Like, she's just the craziest, most powerful support I've ever seen. Every single Wednesday, I usually get a text. It's like, I got to tell you, like, dude, you changed everything. Wow. So that was the most powerful thing I've ever asked somebody. And dude, I was scared when I did it.
I'm sure, dude.
And that's a hard ask.
Listen, the entrepreneurship game is a hard one. The coaching game's a hard one, and a great coach will always ask nearly impossible things of their people to really help them step up in a really big way. Guys, we've been listening to my buddy here, The Muscle, right? That's what they know you as on Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Keaton Hoskins, amazing entrepreneur, absolutely a man worth following. How do they find you online?
I tell everybody I'm all over social media, but Instagram is _muscle.
Okay.
And they can come in, they can message me. A lot of people ask how to join Limitless Society. Literally every way that I communicate with people is through Instagram. You can DM me. It might take me a minute, but I'll answer the DM. I'll get back with you. I like to talk to everybody.
Wow. Well, Muscle, thank you so much for being here today. Keaton, been a pleasure. I know you got to get you back on your chopper because you've got other appointments to get to.
Yeah.
Friends, you've been watching the Kris Krohn Show, and I want to thank you for joining today, and we'll see you next time on our next episode.
Everything falls apart, 'cause he